that was the original white girl with the black girl's ass. You know, you don't really see that too much in Hollywood anymore. Man, that was a real woman.
That makes me sick. They're like, oh, black girls. Oh, she was fat. The girl's not fat at all. I don't get that.
No, in fact, her waist was the same size as Kate Moss's. It was just the rest of her was a lot bigger. She had that perfect hourglass figure,
Coke bottle,
one that women just don't normally aren't capable of getting. But
I mean, have you seen her Playboy spread where it looks like she was hand drawn by like the greatest artist of all times? I mean, looking at her, you're just like, wow, you can't draw better tits on a girl.
I know. It looks like she should have been married to a talking cartoon rabbit.
She pretty much should have been.
Jessica Rabbit was kind of modeled on.
Oh yeah.
Between her
every
and,
fucking girl in the history of art has been modeled after that chick. I mean, come on.
She is. I think in many circles she's considered to be the ideal, the eternal ideal of feminine perfection as far as just physical beauty goes in a lot of ways, and yet. On the other side, who she was as a person is something of a lot of contention. I mean, was she nice? Was she a bitch? Was she stupid? What was the deal?
Well, you know what a lot of people say, because the thing is, a lot of her attraction too is because she played the dumb blonde bombshell.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Everything she said was airy like this because you could pretty much see as she spoke, the brain cells just floated from her mouth.
Right,
you know?
right. And it makes
You're
you
making me hard
wow.
right now, Corey, just talking like that.
Seriously.
Calm
You
down.
stay over there. All right?
Sing me happy birthday.
Now that I can do.
The smartest thing ever came out of her mouth was my dick.
Oh, no, hey.
You look at her, you're like, yeah, but she's hot, but she's so dumb. I might be able to trick her into fucking me.
Hey, well, you know,
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's
she
the
certainly
appeal.
Married enough people who seem to have that idea. Like Arthur Miller, famous playwright, no doubt a smart guy, was like, I'm going to fuck that one way or the other.
Yeah. But you know, in some aspects, though, just thinking about all that, that's kind of what, at least I've always found her a tragic figure.
Sure.
As far as just the whole idea of being a celebrity and the perceptions that are put on you. Because, I mean, deep down, I mean, especially with this movie, it really shows you how lonely she was.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing.
Screaming for somebody to fucking love her.
And that's the thing about her, man, is like apparently, I don't know. This could all be rumor. I mean, this, you know, it might be rumor going up against the image that she put out there, like an urban myth or something. But from what I understand, she was actually an intelligent woman. But at that time, you know, of course, being a starlet, nobody wants to have an intelligent woman out there, and because that just diminishes the attraction to men at that time. So she played it dumb, which kind of that can only wear down on her self-esteem. And then if we watch this movie, you could see like her handlers will always kind of keep her, you know, they were keeping her doped up so they could keep control of her. And
well, she was the most famous woman in the world. Hell, she still probably is in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of money behind an image like that. There's a lot of money for a lot of people to make besides her. There's a lot of reasons for those people to want to keep her doped up and shut up. And I think that
don't forget, it was important for her to later inspire Madonna and then Lady Gaga.
And then, you know, there's some people who go out and say, well, you know, she was also a hoe. You know what I mean? You got to think about it. I don't know. Again, I don't know the details. I know that she got around, you know, like JFK, and we're talking about Arthur Miller, but Elia Kazan, they were comparing notes on her. They're like, yeah, man, I had that ass already. In fact, let me pass down this manual so you know how to maneuver that ass when you get her in bed. You know, it's like
my deal is like, you know, if she was like all that to where it's like that's a sign of perfection. Like, what drove these guys to the point where they're like, sorry, but I can't hang out with you no more. You got a whole mess of problems I can't deal with. I mean, I get exhausted being around you.
I think the wonder here of Michelle Williams' performances of this character is that she went specifically after being able to capture both the cipher that Marilyn was, like, well, who was she? Even to people who knew her didn't really understand, and showing the side of her that was just a girl who wanted just to be a regular person on some level, wanted people to understand her as a person and not as an icon, who desperately wanted to be loved and was completely confused because everyone was pushing this other thing.
No, she was.
I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong?
No, she's that cat, you know, that's always looking across the street from you, like meowing and rubbing the tree, like, come on over here and rub me. And then when you get there, like, cat's like, get the fuck away from me, you know. I think Marilyn Monroe was kind of like that, but that's why I really enjoyed this movie, because that controversy is there in this film that is somewhat about her, but it's also a simpler look at Marilyn Monroe just wanting to be that simple girl, and it offers her up as a more sympathetic figure than a sex bomb or a tragic figure. And I think a lot of people are looking at this as too much of a comedy and not respecting that the simplistic storytelling that is here. But that's what I loved about it. And
I think it encapsulates all of that. What you're saying as far as her tragic figure, her wanting to be just like a normal person, and her dealing with the fame of it all.
Yeah, because this is later in her career.
Yeah.
This is during, although it was not arguably at her peak, because that was like after that, Some Like It Hot, which is like her biggest hit as a film.
Well, no, I think this is before Some Like It Hot.
It said at the end credits.
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot came afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if you stuck around.
Her
to see
big-
that part.
The Some Like It Hot came after this?
Yeah,
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I was.
the next film.
Yeah, it was the next one. That's what I was saying.
So I'm saying she's not quite at her peak, but
Okay.
her death was not long after that either.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she's already an older Marilyn. She's in her 30s. So, I think, the tragedy is there, laid bare. I think you're very aware as an audience member, you're seeing the beginning of the end right here. This is the last vestige, in some ways, of that innocent Norma Jean still there. But it's too late. Everyone around her just wants a piece of her.
Now, I feel like we should be having Elton John singing in the living room right now. Goodbye, Norma Jean.
I want him to sing Pinball Wizard.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elton John.
Or Benny and the Jets.
But
Yes,
this movie,
being a famous celebrity and sex symbol myself, I can certainly understand and feel the pain. Much like co-host here.
Yeah.
Because you can see how he started out as a man and just became to everyone. He was a commodity until he's just a robot.
Fuck,
a
it
thing.
sucks to be me, dude.
I know. I weep for you at night.
and by the way, Elton John is a sex symbol now, since he got that hairpiece. I saw a documentary on Elton John the other day, and I was like, I forgot that fool was bald back in the 70s.
He looked
thought
like
it
Tim
came-
Conway back in the 70s.
I thought it came when he got those big ass glasses.
Yeah, but anyway, we don't want to get sidetracked. It's not about Elton John. This is about Marilyn Monroe, Norma Jean, but this is also about the kid that spent the summer with her. It's the summer of 1956, and a young British chap by the name of Colin Clark, played by Eddie Redmayne. I know in the movie, we were like,
Are there any British people not named Colin?
I know Colin Clark. We was like, I remember you looked over at me, and you like, that's too goddamn British.
There's a couple Benedicts.
I know there's a Nigel in there somewhere.
Yeah, even his father was like, yeah, Colin, what are you going to do this summer? God, come on, man.
Better than Oliver.
This was like an inch away from the wild thornberries or
I
something.
mean, Nick Hodges. I bet Nick is his middle name. His first name is Colin.
Which that poor guy, he is like the poster child for gingers. They must have hated his
the
ass.
freckles and everything, man.
That goofy look on his face the whole time.
I know, grinning and shit.
It
But
looked like he was drawn by John Christopher Lucy.
but you know what? This kid, he wants nothing more than to work in movies. And through persistence and just by simply being a pain in the ass, Clark gets a job as an assistant on Sir Laurence Olivier's The Prince and the Showgirl. Laurence Olivier is played by... Who was
Kenneth
that dude?
Branagh.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that guy that directed Thor.
He took a break from directing Thor.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh. Now, the Prince and the Showgirl also stars Marilyn Monroe, who's played here by Michelle Williams. And she just happens to be on her honeymoon with her famous playwright husband, Arthur Miller. But when Miller says, this bitch is crazy, he just flies back to the States and leaves the set. This puts Marilyn Monroe's insecurities into like a terrible turmoil. And it doesn't help, as we mentioned, that all of her handlers and the people who are her business partners are just keeping her all drugged up so they can keep her under control. And her only refuge is young Colin Clark, who, despite falling victims to her charm and her beauty, basically he just gets a hard on and falls in love with her and thinks he's going to have a chance to have sex with her too. But, it's actually, for the most part, an innocent relationship. And he becomes her true friend and confidant for just 1 week. And of course, this sparks all kind of rumors on the set. And I love it that they, nobody will know what really happened amidst all the rumors and everything. But this guy, Colin Clark, is he also wrote the book, which this movie is based on, The Prince, the Showgirl, and Me. And he, for the most part, he portrays it as an innocent relationship. He says, yeah, pretty much, okay, yeah, I want to fuck her. What guy doesn't? I mean, plus I'm going skinny dipping with her and everything. But overall he recognized that this girl needs just a friend, and he simply kept it like that. He pretty much kept it as far as she wanted to take it.
Yeah, that we are told.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we're told. Yeah,
but that's what makes. I mean, as far as the story itself, it's a great premise because it's one of those premises where you can read something like this and you can throw yourself in there. It's like, wow, what would it be like if a schmo like me fucking was just hanging around a movie set and all of a sudden I'm hanging out with fucking Marilyn Monroe, out of all people, the most desired woman in the world, and she looks at me and says, "Hey, I think you're pretty cool. I want to hang out with you." How fucking amazing is that?
Yeah, so amazing that I don't believe it for a second.
You don't?
I don't. The whole time I wasn't as enamored with this movie as you guys.
You don't believe in fucking
and
Christmas
one of the
either,
reasons was the more this went on, the more I was like, wow, this guy wrote this, and it's a very idealized portrait of it. It's almost Disney-fied, but it's his account where he was the only one around. And the more I looked at it, the more I just felt like, I feel like this is bullshit. I feel like it's a lot of it is his fantasy, and he's trying to make it into something more than what it was.
Okay, the thing is that the reason why I did like it so much is because I saw it as a fantasy more than truth. This reminds me of another movie that was not nearly as good, but it was also, it was straight up fantasy film. It was about a family that is this mother and her son find Elvis like on the side of the road hit by a car. So I don't know what it was, but they bring Elvis into who comes to live with them. He does handiwork for the house, and it's all a total fantasy,
Handiwork for the house.
Lift no hammer.
I liked it better when he was fighting the mummy.
It's like, hey, this would probably be as true as that. But that's what I saw it as. I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is true, maybe it isn't. But this is a guy who's able to like deliver a story of what would happen if an average guy had a relationship where no matter how innocent it is, with one of the most famous people in the world. And it's the storytelling that I like.
Yeah, and as a story, I would go, okay, but it's written as a memoir. As like this really happened.
I didn't know that it was considered to be a real story as I was watching it, because you're right, it did feel kind of like a fantasy. But that being said, it really worked for me. I thought it was a fascinating portrayal of not only Marilyn Monroe, who is really the point of this film ultimately. Like, I think the so-called main character is really just an audience avatar to get to Marilyn, to try and understand her, to crack that riddle, or her panties.
Yeah, whichever comes first.
More like her vagina. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what's going to come first.
Me.
Before you even get your pants off.
I know. You got to rub one out before you even leave the house. If that's the situation.
Everyone was rubbing one out working on that set.
Just give me 30 minutes, and I'm going to tear you up.
But
30 seconds, brother.
I thought it worked as an interesting examination of Monroe and just in celebrity in general. Like that idea of celebrities who are at that point, that height, that uber height of celebrity, where it's just you can't go anywhere without people. Like if you went to the Vatican, the Pope would be like, and rip it off pieces of your clothes.
That's still going on today.
Oh, absolutely.
To even a more absurd level where fucking people are dying because of it. But,
and that's just the co-host himself.
That's me.
But it's a sex symbol.
But you know what? The thing that I loved about this is that what really makes it work is the performances in this. The performances really sell it. And wow, if Michelle Williams doesn't get a fucking Oscar for this, I'm burning down that fucking Oscar show. I really am, because I
hope she doesn't now.
I will be there.
I do want to see Coase being led away in handcuffs on TMC.
It's going to be it's going to be the end of Inglourious Basterds for me. I'll be right there in the middle laughing.
And Hitler will be at that ceremony.
Until I realize I got to get the fuck out of here.
No, you know what, man? It is the performances, and it goes without saying. Michelle Williams gives them. I think, and I think like you, and I'm sure Cyrus thinks.
You're right. I think.
Yes, and now
therefore I am.
I know. Yeah.
The Grinch over here probably doesn't think so.
No, I think she was amazing. I think she did a fantastic.
Okay, so we all in agreement.
And for her to not look much like Marilyn Monroe in her face, she really convinced me.
Really?
That's one of the most amazing things about her performance, I thought, because going into it, the first 10 minutes, I'm going, I love Marilyn Monroe, and she just didn't have physically that unique thing that Marilyn had. I mean, who does, right? But still, it was bugging me. And as it went along, I just totally forgot because she nailed the spirit of who Marilyn Monroe was. And I kept thinking, what does this remind me of performance-wise? It reminded me of in Frost Nixon with what's his name who played Nixon?
Frank Langella.
Yeah, Frank Langella, who didn't look a thing like Nixon. But you totally forget he's not Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
She fucking nailed it. You're absolutely right, because the thing is that when you just think of Michelle Williams, because I didn't know much about this movie. And when I found out Michelle Williams was playing Marilyn Monroe, I was like, really? That's who they got?
Yeah.
But watching it, I'm like, wow, she pretty much embodied Marilyn to the point where I was falling in love with her on the screen, where I'm like, it makes perfect sense that everyone in this movie is falling for her, because the person I'm watching on screen, I'm fucking falling for right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she does it, but there are some moments where it was creepy to me how much she really was. It seemed like she was Marilyn Monroe. Even from the looks too, I have to admit. There's a scene where she's in the bathtub and her face is like going down and she's looking at the camera with her eyes. I swear to God, it looked like it was fucking.
Well,
Marilyn
it
Monroe.
helps that they chose